Morning everybody, welcome back to Ride the Six Motorcycle channel. Specifically welcome back to Rebel Rebuild. I've already done one episode or two episodes. Now we know the bike is mechanically sound. Everything looks straight on the bike. It feels like it's riding and driving normally. So now we need to start replacing stuff like right here. You can probably see that front brake master cylinder is all scuffed up. The same as the front brake lever, that's all scuffed up. We need to start getting into that stuff now, guys. We're going to start fixing up the cosmetic damages on this bike, and we're going to start with this stuff. So I'm not going to bore you any longer by talking. Let's get right to it. Check it out, guys. Some more parts. This is our front brake master assembly from Honda. Part number is here. Here is our new front brake lever from Honda. Part number is here. Now, something to note, the bolt that holds the lever to your master cylinder, this does not come as part of one of these two kits, neither does the two bolts that hold your master cylinder onto your handlebars. You need to reuse this stuff from your old setup, so save these bolts, guys, because you're going to need them. The parts are just the handle and the master cylinder with the clamp. You do not get the bolts with these parts, so you got to reuse what you can. Let's get these on the bike. First things first, guys, we're going to attack this front brake master cylinder and the front brake lever. Both are damaged. Not broken per se, it's still functional. It's damaged. Obviously, I cannot sell the bike this way, so we are going to switch it out. Anyways, what you need here for this bike is a 10mm socket underneath and a flathead screwdriver on top. You can just hold the nut on the bottom, or you can use your socket to turn it out. However you want to do it, guys. Okay, there you go. 10mm nut is off. Let's just keep threading this bolt out. I want to take the lever off first just because it's probably a little bit easier to work with, guys, rather than trying to hold the reservoir and pull this lever off. Okay, just want to get that pin out. Okay, there we go. So there's our pin. And let's see if we can work this lever out of there. Alright, there we go, guys. Front brake lever's out. We're not going to reuse this, but I might keep this as a spare. You never know. Maybe I'll get another Honda motorcycle and I'll need a lever. Maybe one that's not, say, broken per se, but, you know. Alright, let's put that aside. Let's get into I need to get this cover off. We need to get the fluid drained out of the reservoir. Before you begin playing with brake fluid, put a cloth, put a towel around the area you're working on. You don't want this on your paint. You don't want it on any of your plastic body panels. It will damage the finish. Okay, to get if we have a Phillips screwdriver here, two little Phillips screws to get the cover off. Very easy. Going to gently lift that cover off, and then we're going to have, I know we're going to get some leakage here, so that's why I have the cloth here. We're going to have a little cap and a little rubber seal. Okay, and there we go. Okay, you're going to want to put that aside. Now, I want to start taking some brake fluid out of here. I can see this brake fluid is still a pretty nice color, but we need to drain this. We're going to have to bleed the brakes as well. So I'm just using a syringe here, guys, and I'm just going to discard it into my oil pan over here. We want to get as much of this brake fluid out as possible because we need to disconnect the front brake line from this master cylinder, and the less you have in the master cylinder, the less problematic it's going to be for you. So that's 3 full needles. Let's go for 4. Alright, we pretty much have all the brake fluid that we're going to get out of this reservoir. Okay, so you can use your rag, kind of tidy up the area here a little bit. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to unbolt this front brake line. By doing this, and by already doing what we've already done, we've already introduced air into the system. For that reason, you will have to fill and flush the front brake lines. Otherwise, you could have a serious problem. Now, to break this front brake line free, you need a 12mm socket. See if this is enough. May need a bigger extension. Oh, there we go. Okay, I did get it, guys. You got to put a little bit of force into it. It's on fairly tight. As soon as we release this banjo bolt, we will have brake fluid leaking out again, so have your cloth ready. Okay, there we go. Banjo bolt is out. Now, keep an eye on your crush washers, guys. You're going to need to reuse your crush washers. If you're really anal about things, you can go ahead and replace them. I find that you always don't really have to replace them. You can reuse if you would like to. But again, that's your call. Not professional advice, but just in my experience, some of these crush washers can be reused. With that front line disconnected, guys, we're going to unbolt our front brake master cylinder here. I think these are just a 4mm or 5mm bolt. I have marked the location. There's also a notch on the bars as well to give you a guide as to where this gets mounted when you put the new one back in. Pay attention to your angle here. Right now it's slanted slightly back, probably because I haven't rotated the bars maybe quite forward enough. And those two bolts out. There's going to be some cables underneath here we're going to need to unplug. Yeah, I may have to get a set of pliers to pull the two cables off, but that's okay. Let's get this off the bike. There we go. Have your towel ready, guys. There is still a little bit of brake fluid in there. And basically we need to disconnect these two wires as well. Let that hang there for a second. I'm going to grab something to disconnect the wires. Alright, usually just a set of needle nose pliers will do, guys. Get a firm grip. Basically just wiggle it off. There you go. So essentially all you're doing, you're disconnecting the two terminals from here, which essentially when you hit your brake, it activates your brake light. That's all this is, guys. It's a signal to your system to activate your brake light. But you do need those wires, so don't break them. And there's no polarity on this. This is just a dry contact. Normally open, normally closed when you hit your brakes. So nothing fancy. Doesn't matter which way the wire goes back. Just needs to go back on your new master cylinder. So we have our brand new front brake master cylinder from Honda. I've already ordered parts, guys. I'm kind of a little bit ahead of you here. Okay, we're going to put that on. You're going to put your holder on. It's got an arrow that's marked up. Not sure if you can see it on the camera. Trust me, it's there. Okay, we're going to get this roughly bolted back in place. Just finger tighten the bolts for now. And then we're going to tighten them in. Okay, we're going to position this roughly where it was before. It was slightly tilted back. And we're going to just tighten these in tight enough so it's not moving around on the bars. Okay, there we go, guys. I do not know the proper torque specs just yet, but I will check that in the manual. I have it lined up on the bars where my tape is and where the notch is, and as before, I just have it slightly tilted back a little bit. it should be fine where it is. As long as your fluid level doesn't get low, this point should always have brake fluid. Here's our new lever. We're just going to slide that in there. Okay, I can hear it's engaging. Okay. I'm actually going to put a little bit of grease on our bolt, guys, that puts the lever and mounts the lever to our master cylinder. Just a little Bel-Ray waterproof grease, nothing special, guys. Just going to put it right there. That's the piece that goes through. We're not going to put it on the threads. We don't need it on the threads. Okay, let me try to get this bolt in there. Again, a second set of hands would be handy if you have it. Okay, bolt is almost in. Okay. Bolt is in. We're just going to thread it through with the screwdriver. We're going to put the nut on the bottom. Okay, so right now, where this is sitting actually looks pretty good. It's relatively flat and level. I will find out the torque specs, guys, for these bolts and also the bolt that holds the lever, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so I just checked the manual. The torque on these two bolts here is 9 foot-pounds, and the torque on the banjo bolt here for your front brake line is 25 pounds. So I have torqued these both in at 9. I've torqued this in at 25. We're at the stage now where we're going to start to do basically fresh fluid and bleeding on the brake lines. I'm probably not going to film that for you. I'm just going to do it and then come back when that's done. Okay, so we have completed the front brake master cylinder and the front brake lines. I have gone ahead, refilled this all with fresh fluid, and I have bled the lines and basically flushed the lines out. Everything is completely new here on the front brake set up. New lever, everything is good. We're going to move on to the next part of the bike, which is working on the signals and the headlight housing. So we're working with another thing on the bike, guys. We have a bit of an issue with the lights, as you may have seen in the very first video. Let me turn the key on here. Kind of hard to see. Okay, there we go. You can see we have our right running light is on. Our left running light is off. But the left running light, when I initiate a left signal, it works. And when I initiate a right signal, the other light doesn't work. So very interesting. This running light's on, this one's off, and signals only work on the left, not the right. And it's not just the right front, but also the right rear. You can see my left rear is working, my front left is working, signal, but right, front, and rear, no signal. So not really sure what it is, guys. I'm suspecting, as you know, all the controls do run through this control piece on the handlebar. I may open this up. I see this has been moved a little bit, and I'm wondering if possibly it got damaged. Also, I noticed a little button here for the signal. This little button for the signal has been, I guess, broken off or fell off or something. So I'm suspecting maybe the control itself could have an issue, but I don't know. Let me open it up. Let me check it out. So I just tried an interesting test, guys. I actually switched the connectors for you can see they're color coded. I switched the connectors for the right and left front headlights. So technically now when I signal right, or sorry, when I signal left, you can see my rear left is going, and now my front light is actually going. So there's actually no problem with either the running bulb or the signal bulb in this light. See, even as the left light, it's still running. But look at this light here. This light here, still no running light. And when I signal right, this should indicate, but it's not, and there's still no indicator on the rear right. So, a little interesting. Not quite sure what to make of that just yet. It tells me that light is actually working. It's something else on the bike that's not signaling. It could be this here, or it could be part of the wiring harness in the bike. I'm suspecting maybe this piece has an issue. So we're going to try to address the front signals and stuff on this bike, guys. I have two pieces in. This is the front right blinker. They call it a winker. I don't know why. And this is the switch assembly on the left-hand bar for the winkers. So anyways, guys, there's your part numbers. Right front signal light and left control switch for the winkers. So we're going to switch it out. As I mentioned, this has a broken button anyway. You can't just buy a button, and you can't put a piece of Lego block on it. I wish you could. It just won't. It won't look right. So, unfortunately, I had to buy a new piece there, and we're going to switch out this front signal light here because it's clearly busted and damaged. So, all right, let me get to it. Let's get them on the bike. So make sure you undo your two signal wires coming from your clutch lever here. And then there's a little wire that attaches to the bottom side of the handlebars. There's a little nub right there. Kind of hard to see. And then there's this little device here. There's a little spring-loaded tab on the right-hand side of that piece. You need to depress that tab and then slide that forward. That will release that cable from your bars. Okay, I'm going to follow the cable down. I'm going to get it basically taken right off the bike, and I got to follow it all the way down inside, and it's going to come in here somewhere. So let me get that done, and then we'll plug in the new one. We'll see if we have the same issue with the signals, or we see if the problem is fixed. All right, so your connector for your left signal switch resides down in here. It is a bit of a tight spot. There's not a lot of room to get your fingers in there. Have patience. Take your time. This connector doesn't even plug together and latch. Like it plugs in and it unplugs. There's no top secret trick to it, no latch, no special catch or anything. Anyways, I fed the new signal switch down in through the bike. I've run it back along the handlebars and then down right here in the back, in the side, and we've plugged in the new signal switch. So I haven't buttoned it up yet, just yet, because I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put it. But let's turn the key on here. Now the cool thing, and this was what I was kind of hoping for, guys. The good news is I have both front running lights. And let me find the signal switch. I also have a left signal or a right signal. And I also have a left signal. So there's the front, there's the rear, and I'll go back to the right again. There's our front, and there is our rear. So it looks like this was the problem with the signals. Even though it was only missing a button here, I took the chance and went ahead and replaced this unit, and sure enough, all my signals look to be working. This bike even has hazards, so if I turn on the hazards, we have front hazards and we have rear hazards. So it looks like we have fixed the problem with the signal lights. Let me cancel those hazards there. And now we're going to go ahead and replace this signal light. Even though it's actually working, you can see it's scuffed up pretty badly. I'm not going to sell it like that, guys. So here's how the Honda Rebel mirrors are designed. This collar here is a rubber collar that fits around the top of your fork and clamps to a bolt right there that is part of, I guess, the top triple tree or something attached to the triple tree. That rubber piece then slides into this signal light holder or cover, and then there's a little metal piece in there that secures the rubber to the housing. So once you have all that assembled, then you can fish your wire in for your signal. It goes in through there, out through there, out through there, and then in through that hole and up toward the front of the headlight of the bike through that pathway right there. Anyway, so let me get the new signal light in and we'll put it on the bike. Guys, we have the new housing and the new signal in place. When this piece locks into the housing, it goes in and then it turns. You'll feel it lock, and there is one screw underneath right there that holds the housing to the actual signal itself. So anyways, we have that on the bike. Let's flick the key. All right, there we go. 2 running lights. This one's brand new. This one is not damaged. The cover's a little scuffed, so I may change out the cover, but it involves taking off the whole light assembly as well. It's not super quick. And we have a left signal. And we have a right signal. So we're all good on the lights. We're going to move on to see what's next that we can work on the bike. We've got the left control signal all buttoned up. The housing wasn't quite closing properly, and then I realized there is a little pin inside the housing that has to meet up in a very specific spot on your bars. So this piece can really only get installed in one location, and I noticed that also on this side on the Honda as well. There was a pin inside this control, and it only fit on one spot on the bars. You cannot get these wrong. They only go in one spot. So we've buttoned this up. I've readjusted our front brake master cylinder. I've put that in the right place. I've torqued it back in, and I've adjusted this, and I've tightened all this up. So we're ready to move on. I didn't want to do the tank yet, guys, because I didn't know if I was going to have electrical problems down in here. But luckily there's no electrical problem with the bike. All the signal lights are now working. I will change the headlight out, but we're going to get this tank done next. I have the tank sitting over here. And I have a new tank in the box, also with a new gasket for the fuel pump. We don't do anything half-assed. We make sure we do it fully and completely when we do it. And there's a little bit of gas laying there. That's not too bad. It's probably just been dripping out. But yeah, we're going to take the fuel pump out of here and the gasket, and we're going to transpose it onto the new tank, along with the gas cap and the key for that. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, get your notifications on the next episode. We're going to be addressing the gas tank and something else. I don't know. I have a lot of stuff already recorded. It's just a matter of putting it all together, do the editing on it. And if you're riding, guys, ride safe.